All right, everyone, we now have 3 post-debate polls, that is the Democratic debates, and we do have significant poll movement. It looks like Biden has lost some support, although he's still the front runner. He has dropped, however, in Iowa, and according to one, he's now in third there, so he needs to make up for lost time. Problem for Biden has always been the possibility of making mistakes. I don't even think that it has as much to do with the debates as it has to do with the fact that thereafter he keeps doing dumb shit, like the gay waiter, joke thing in Seattle. It's a big problem for him. Kamala Harris is now arguably in second place, which is hysterical. Sanders getting shoved arguably down to fourth, and Warren taking his spot for third. That's good for America if Bernie Sanders disappears off the face of the earth. By the way, Bernie Sanders now in third in New Hampshire. He's done, basically. And I have seen some murmurings, and this is among both center and far left outlets, legacy media outlets, which control, the minds of the left, saying basically Sanders is fucked. Biden's not, but he has a lot of work to do. The thing is, Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris fighting it out for number one would be hilarious, because they're both liars with a lot of wedge issues in their platforms, and it would definitely help with getting the far left to vote, but I have a feeling if you take either of them with the positions they've taken, put them up against Trump, the Rust Belt would still go red. What would happen is that all of those business Dems in the center left would flock to the Republican Party, because they would take one look at the high tax and spend social welfare, wedge issue addled, open borders platforms of the left. I don't think the average sane person will find that palatable. I think Biden would do better. And that's saying something, because Biden I don't think could win either. I think Buttigieg is the only person in the top tier really that would have a chance. And he's not being taken seriously enough. After the debates, he did a good job in the debates. I thought he did a good job, and yet he's still stuck at 6 or 7%. There's no poll movement. The fact is that he didn't delve enough into the wedge issues. He has resisted the urge to say, hey, I'm gay and I'm proud, so fucking vote for me. Warren and Kamala Harris have no problem drumming up their ethnicities, supposedly, and their other, sort of minority status, special snowflake bullshit. Hey, we're female, vote for us because no party for old white men stuff. Which plays well to the more politically active Democrats. But Biden has problems also because he's fucking old. Now, Elizabeth Warren being 70, she's no spring chicken either. Kamala Harris is more of an average age sort of candidate. She's 56, 57 something. The problem for Kamala, I'm telling you, if she became the nominee, the big problem is her lying and her prosecutorial history, because if the Republicans under Trump get to say, hey, Trump passed prison reform, got black people out of prison. Kamala Harris put him in prison for simple drug possession and truancy. Fuck the inner cities, basically. That's not going to go over too well. I don't think that would go over too well with a lot of voters in this country. But now we've got to analyze, since Kamala Harris has risen up the most after the debate, slightly undeservedly, although in my own analysis I did say she was one of the big winners. We've got to analyze, is this a flash in the pan rise, or is this a permanent rise? Is she Marco Rubio, or is she Ben Carson, basically, this time around for the new election? It's impossible to say. There are some people saying both. Some people are saying, well, it's obvious Kamala's been coronated. Harris and Warren are definitely the Clinton choices. It's been obvious for a long time that Kamala Harris was the one that Hillary Clinton really does want to be the nominee. And the thing is, it's not clear whether the Clintonian faction of the corporate neoliberals, the corporate left, will win out. Warren, I think, also has her backers, and then there are those that back Biden. There are those who believe, and I don't think that they're wrong, that Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris are unelectable. The thing is, Elizabeth, both of them, I believe, glommed onto the new Green Deal, same day, and then, the next day it was exposed as a bunch of crazy farce, crazy bullshit, and then got, re-edited and stuff, and AOC said, oh, tee-hee, that wasn't supposed to be publicly released, and then tried to gaslight everyone by pretending that stuff that was in it wasn't in it, and apparently blocks people who point this out on, Twitter. By the way, mini AOC, that, young girl who was mocking Cortez, got so many death threats to her and her family that she shut down all her social media. And Cortez hasn't disowned or disavowed the fans of hers that did this. Apparently people were trying to dox and harass and threaten do crazy shit. This is the face of the new left. They don't want to debate anyone, and they really, really hate satire because, you know, if you want to make it funny, all you have to do is talk about Cortez or Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib or Maxine Waters or Kamala Harris or one of these other fucking losers. It's really fun to make fun of them because there's a lot to make fun of. There's an inexhaustible amount of comedy. It's like the late night shows. All they want to do is make Trump jokes. They're not joking about anyone in the Dem field. Okay, once in a while Bernie Sanders, but let's face it, that's low-hanging fruit at this point. Yeah, this geriatric socialist that's been out far lefted in his own fucking party after having been a complete maverick for his entire life. Poor Bernie Sanders. He can't even be the most left-wing person in the field anymore, which is why he's not going to be the nominee. Don't say I didn't tell you so, progressive voice, or, you know, any other person on the far left that sang the praises of Berniedom until, basically the debates. I expect that many of them will now pretend to have always backed whoever the eventual left-wing nominee is. And it's still likely to be Biden, which is funny. If I had to guess, I would say I still do not believe Kamala Harris will be considered viable long term. I think that her success at the debate was largely because she lashed out at Trump and she scored a few hits against Biden. But the thing is, now that Biden is wizened to the fact that she is going to do such a thing, he might attack her, you know, over the next few months. The other thing is that now that Kamala is arguably in that top rung, she might get attacked too. She and Warren are likely, because they're both female second-rung candidates. They are likely to fight tooth and nail to try to rise to dominance. And they should, by the way. They shouldn't even bother targeting Biden. They should be targeting one another because their coalitions overlap so much. One of them has to become dominant, or Biden can win with 25% of the vote regardless. He doesn't even have to win in Iowa. I think that the way forward for him is clear if he does. But if Sanders isn't going to take New Hampshire, as long as Biden does well there, may not make a huge difference. I think Warren would probably be more competitive in a place like New Hampshire than Harris. That's the other thing. The structure of the first four states tilts heavily in favoring someone like Biden or Warren over Kamala Harris. She is seen as further left. She's got more, arguably, baggage, at least in the strictest sense. So, I mean, it's impossible to say, though. We're going to have to wait. Again, we've just barely started the actual election. We're quite a ways out even from the next debate. And we're still already talking about this shit. I think the next debate is at the end of this month, I think, and then there's one in September, if I remember correctly. I think. But until the final debate's over, you know, that's sort of, you know, the last hurrah for that part of the political cycle. Then we really get into it. By the end of the last debate, a few of the lowest tier candidates might lose so much money that they drop out, which would make it more certain. The more people drop out, the more certainty will be injected into who's going to win. Especially close to when Iowa and New Hampshire, these early states, begin voting, which I believe is in February, if I remember correctly. You gotta realize we're not that far out from it. By the end of Super Tuesday, we'll know probably who the nominee will be. People will say all day, "Oh no, we're not sure yet." No, bullshit. No, we'll know. Don't worry about it. At the very least, we'll know who is still viable, and that list will be extremely short. It'll probably be one or two people. That's about all. Peace out.